Hi, welcome to another episode of KADPAP podcast series. And as usual, my name is Aliyu Alhassan Kutigi, communication lead at the Tech community. And here with me, I'm having Mr. Salim Yunusa, who will be discussing about peace building and countering violent extremes. Welcome on board, sir.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Aliyu.
Yeah. Can we please have a brief introduction about you?
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Salim Yunusa. I'm a freelance journalist and a communication strategist. And I think over the course of our conversation, we get to know me more.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. So today we'll be talking about peace building and countering violent extremes.
Yeah.
So Kaduna State have in recent years have faced a lot of insecurity issues, extreme violence, maybe through the social media, and so I want us to discuss about what is people need to know what extreme violence is, and probably we can see how it can manifest and into different contexts, particularly in some regions within Kaduna that are conflict affected area. Please, can we shed some light about it, and can go first?
So basically, I think when we're talking about violent extremism, it encompasses ideologically driven violence by a group of people or individuals, trying to achieve a political, a religious, a social aim through violence. So it's not just a random act of violence that happens. It has to be driven by an aim. Maybe it is political, maybe it is religious, maybe it is ethical. Yeah. So it can be anything, but then there is violence. That's the problem. If you can just have everybody is free to have his ideology, but then inflicting violence on others and disrupting the peace, that's where the problem rises. So that's religious extremism. That's violent extremism in a nutshell.
Okay.
So yeah, in Kaduna, we have unfortunately had some cycles of violent extremism over the years. And when you look at some of the root causes, it is socio ethnic, ethno-religious, reasons. It can be socio-economical reasons. It can also be, when you look at it from another angle, it is driven by poverty and other, reasons in our society.
Actually, I think I will agree with you that we over the years, I think I can remember, actually, to my own understanding, I think the political grievances around this violent extreme is of high, and on my scoreboard I'll score it first. And looking at secondly, I can also talked about the religion violence also.
Yeah.
I think that has caused a major setback to this state, and Kaduna State actually. And though it's been a while, we have issues like that. Rather less, and we've been also observing some on social media. I can still remember during the 2023 election, there was so much social media violence, which are mainly caused by this, like I earlier said, the political grievances. Actually, so I know knowing the extreme violence around Kaduna State, is one thing. But the issue is how can we see how can we improvise or find a way to encounter or maybe combat those issues that normally raise the violence within our society?
Yeah, so just like you mentioned, these things have been happening. And for us to stop it or to start thinking of innovative ways to counter extremism in our society, we have to look at the root causes. And some of those root causes, like I mentioned earlier, is poverty and inequality in the society. It is definitely illiteracy. People are poor. People have genuine and legit grievances, and they're looking for a way to channel that grievances out.
Actually,
and illiteracy is also another very big issue in our society. A lot of people can be brainwashed by a random person on the street. Okay, do this, you're doing something good, or you're not doing something good. And then you have a lot of followers who are willing to take up arms to get that aim done,
achieved.
So I think in a society like ours, these too many issues, coupled with religious extremism also, and ethnic superiority, I would say, is a problem. If you are living in a culturally diverse and religiously diverse environment like Kaduna, you have to be very careful. You know, you have to consider, you have to be mindful of what will cause harm to your neighbor who you don't share the same religion or you don't share the same ethnicity with. So I think these are the major issues that have been happening over time, and we have not been tackling those issues well. If everybody is gainfully employed, if everybody has where to go from 9 to 5, and he's getting money at the end of the month, I don't think that person can just willingly take up arms when there's a crisis and join the fight.
Well,
So I think once we tackle this illiteracy, we have a lot of out of school children in the state. If we can tackle that, tackle the illiteracy, and then promote this religious and ethnic and social cohesion in between us, I think that would go a long way.
Yeah, actually, I can agree with you. One thing I can like put this to consideration when it relates to extreme violence is propaganda. I know people like very good in saying things which are not actually true, or maybe use social media for misinformation just to, like you say, to get their help. And I think there is this engagement I attended recently, and one of the facilitators was saying something about uh, um, a community where how to address issues that are rising around peace in the community. He made examples of himself, and he gave an instance. He says, okay, once you have a community where you have people who are innovative, who are motivated, dreaming to create things, put out ideas, be creators, innovators. You grow up in that community to be a very a creator, also innovator. And in the instance where you have a community where the street is full of terror, you end up becoming a terror. So I think one of the issue is also the community.
Yes.
The society also matters. So, and social media has created an avenue for the issue of extreme violence, and we have seen
speech,
actually hate speech and misinformation. So I'm looking towards that, and I'm thinking that how can we have control over what we do over the internet, and how can we, like, people who are used to that, how can we, like, change their mindset or bring them down, or how can we attack to combat all those misinformation and using which are being perpetrated on over the internet.
So yeah, the internet is both a blessing and a disguise. I think by now we all know that. One of the major issues that we have right now is the spread of misinformation, disinformation, hate speech, and the likes on the internet, especially on social media. And I think the best way we can go about countering that is, when we partner with all these social media apps and giants such as Facebook and others, so that they can know if someone is posting and pushing, a very hurtful and harmful content, to flag it down and to remove it, to probably suspend that account. I think that's the most important thing. The other thing is, we, the social media users, also have a responsibility to educate people. Yes, actually, just as the rest are using their platform and their voices to spread harm, we can use it to spread good things, and that's what we should do, I believe. And another thing is, we can engage on campaigns such as KADPAP. We can do a lot of good on social media with advocacy campaigns towards promoting peace and cohesion in between people. So I think it doesn't have to be really sophisticated. We have to look inwards. Okay, you're talking to people from, say, Gasa or Narai. You look at people from those societies, those communities. You identify them, you train them, and you make them understand that you're not pushing an agenda. This is for the good of the society, and Whether they like it or not, they were seen as leaders
someday.
Yeah. So it's up to them to, educate and enlighten their community on the importance of peace. Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with you. So when you talk about peace, actually, like we tend to see the people who paid the highest price in insecurity are almost the youth. So I think it's their responsibility, or should I say, it is our responsibility to put on those responsibility on and face the truth. Actually, I can say that okay. I've actually on my own side, I've observed a lot of violence to my eyes, which till today I see it does pop up at times, and it's a memory that you can't easily get away from.
The trauma is heavy.
It's so heavy, and I think it's our responsibility. Earlier this year, you are aware that we support from Leap African and NYFF. We advocate for this project, Kaduna Peace Promotion and advocates in Kaduna State, where we train 40 young people around across the state. These young people have demonstrated their willingness and their passion to ensuring peace within the state. And they have played some kind of significant role, since after the boot camp and the capacity building training, demonstrating their skills and what they learn and what they are being taught during the capacity building, and to the extent that some of them have implemented some projects, across their senatorial district, trying to bring relevant stakeholders, trying to, enlighten people, their communities, their society on importance of peace promotion and so on and so forth. I think one of the challenges is, the community trying to identify the root causes of these issues. And, and when you get to know that you have a problem in your society, and this problem is, it's also you have a part to play. And just because you don't get support from the government, or you don't get external support from somewhere, you tend to feel relaxed and say, okay, you can't do anything about it. What I'm totally mean is, some of these violence are caused by young people, influenced by other source of, so, community tended to navigate their responsibility in saying, okay, how can we deal with these people? How can we tackle issues like this? We don't know what will happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
And how do you see that?
I think it's really important that whatever projects you're going to do, there has to be some sort of ownership by the community. Over the years, we have seen so many plans, so many beautiful plans have failed because people planned for the community, not with the community. You go to a community, you sit down, you talk to them. Okay, we have noticed this, and this is what is happening. How do we stop this? You bring in the women, you bring in the young people, you bring in the elders, the traditional leaders, the pastors, the imam. You bring everybody on board. You sit down. You don't even insert yourself in the conversation. You just sit back. Let them talk. What seems to be the problem, and how can we address it? When I was a peace promotion fellow with Equal Access International, and we entered a lot of communities, especially in Kaduna, in Kajuru, Chikun, and some parts of Kaduna State here. And we've noticed that people don't really like for you to come from just wherever you're coming from to impose your views and give them solutions, be a messiah to them. You have to understand where they are coming from. You have to engage with them, let them talk. You know what they are doing also. So give them that avenue to discuss, to talk. And I think you get fantastic, workable, sustainable solutions. You don't have to bring about your own solutions from abroad. You can just support them as an organization, whatever you're doing. You can support them with financially. You can amplify whatever they're doing through media, or advocacy, or lobbying across the halls of power. You can do that as an advocate, as someone who has access. And that's what they need. You can take up their grievances. So that's the most important thing. Communities will listen to you when you do that. You don't just bring about solutions. Something that happened in San Francisco might not necessarily be applicable in Kaduna.
Yeah, actually. Yeah. Oh, that's nice. That's lovely. Oh, wow, that's great. So, when something like violence happened, it builds out memory. Some people live with it, like I earlier said.
Yeah, PTSD.
Actually, see, one aspect that we forgot, or what aspect that we don't care about, is the rehabilitation process.
Yeah,
you have somebody that has a memory, like a deadly memory in him. How can we, or the government or the people, come together and say, okay, necessarily, I think the government like those angle of solution to things like that. So, but since they are not involved, or they are not willing to take that upon them, so it's now become a responsibility for the community, to engage people with such, issues to see how can they be rehabilitated. Sometimes, it builds up to depression. It builds up to a lot of things, and it affects human mentally, and cause a lot of disturbance to his behavior, to his attitude, and so on and so forth. We have seen, well, I can still remember a scene that happened in, should I say 99, 2000, when I was still in secondary school in Bariwa College,
2000, yes.
Yeah, actually. So I was actually in JS1 when the violence within Bariwa College and Kufaina happened. So I still have that memory with me, because I have to trek around 2 a.m. in the night just to come out from Kufaina to the main Magajin Gari bridge, and so on and so forth. Wow. So imagine me at that age, very young, having that memory still on me, sometimes it keep coming at the night, sometimes it's come, unexpected, and so I didn't have that, privilege of having the rehabilitation process. Yeah. So if you look at some people who are basically young people or women who can't even handle issues like this, it becomes a mental issue for them, and that can lead to a lot of things, to their health and maybe to their life. How can we, incorporate that in the society?
Yeah, so post-traumatic stress disorder, which is PTSD, is real. It is happening, and a lot of people don't even know that they are living with it. Just like you mentioned, you think, okay, a cycle of violence happens, and then, alhamdulillah, you're okay, and that's it. You're not okay.
Yeah, not actually.
And when we look at the ratio of psychologists and therapists in the state to citizens, the ratio is really, really discouraging and alarming when you look at it at the long run. But alhamdulillah, we've been having a lot of organizations, mental health organizations, that are being set up online and physically across the states and even other states, where you can reach out to them and talk to them about your trauma. This is what has happened to me. And you just talk. The most important thing is for you to be willing to accept the help. So many people don't even know that they require the help. So when you try to help them, they push back, they fight you, they say, I'm okay. And when you're actually not okay. You'll be having nightmares, you'll be having schizophrenia. You can even actually be mentally unstable at that point in time. So, but we have federal and state institutions that not a lot of us really know, but they are there. There is the Federal Psychiatric in Bernawa here. We have in Ibiushika, Barauduko, across all state and federal-owned medical institutions and facilities. We have this unit, this sector, whereby they can help you out. And across, individual private organizations, we also have them. We have NGOs that do that. So it's very important for us to create, a safe space whereby you can be able to express
yourself,
your fear, your trauma. We should be able to remove that stigma as a society. Because it does not make sense if I see you coming out from the psychiatric and then the first thing that comes into my mind is that you're mad.
Actually,
I should think, okay, something is wrong. How can I help? Actually, so like now that you shared your trauma, I'm so sorry it happened to you, by the way. I hope you've gotten
Yeah,
it.
yeah, 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 yeah. I did, and I think one of the solution I got actually was through a mobile app. Yeah,
Exactly.
so I saw an ad over the social media, and I tried to, okay, let me just give it a try. And I spoke to somebody who is also a human being like me. I have to like take into a lot of steps, for me to rehabilitate and actually get it.
Yeah.
And since then, it has been very helpful, and I think it hasn't been the same since
Yeah.
then.
It
And
gets easier with
yeah,
time. It
actually,
gets easier.
I observed
So
that. So
so I think it is up to us now and the community at large for us to start having these conversations
decision,
that it is
actually,
okay for you to talk about these things. And then we get the relevant stakeholders, the imams, the pastors, the traditional rulers, even the government to make it known, make it public, make it um, out there that, okay, we have these things, they are free, come in, talk to us, and we want to help you be better. And there is no stigma. We should know how we should definitely be really conscious about how we look at people that are undergoing trauma.
you talked about actually the relevant stakeholders to have a big role to play. When it comes to issue like this, and involving the imams, the pastors, and and I think one thing is the government on its own part has a very huge responsibility to
It
play,
does.
and sometimes I tended to see, okay, what most importantly, the information ministry are doing with the national orientation agency. And I think those are the right channels where these informations, like all this awareness, need to be carried on. And government getting involved with relevant expertise around rehabilitation, like
Yeah.
psychological issues, relatively, like earlier said, the National Psychiatric Hospital, coming, creating an awareness with issues like this. A lot of people are traumatized because of the cause of violence within and around them, even within their own, homes, and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. Actually, so I would love to give you a minute, before we round up the program, to maybe shed some light around, issues like that.
Yeah. So I think generally we have to change our approach on how we live in the society and how we recover after crisis and after conflicts. We have to sit down and evaluate what is working and what is not working. So before we even go to rehabilitation, we have to stop these things. We have to build the peace. Peace is not just the mere absence of war or conflict. There is negative peace, whereby everybody is just tolerating each other. We have to understand each other, understand that, okay, we didn't create ourselves and we are here, and God put us here together. We have to respect each other, our cultures, our ethnicity, our religion, before we even start thinking of averting conflict. Once we do that, we build the peace, it's sustainable, we will not have conflicts for a very long time. I think when you look at what has been happening in Kaduna for quite a while, we've been very peaceful because we understand that violence is not the way, violence is not the answer.
Yeah, definitely.
And in the unfortunate cases that we have had violence, we have to understand that, okay, there are victims to this. The government has a huge responsibility to, rehabilitate, to support these victims to start over their lives.
Actually.
Not just mentally, physically, financially, psychologically, and all the needs that you can think of. So the government has to do that. If not, it will just be creating more and more problems for itself in the nearest future. So, peace, well-being, and prosperity, they go hand in hand to end extremism. And because if you're prosperous, you go to school. If you are peaceful, you would be living healthy. You will not be having mental issues and trauma. So I think all these things are intertwined and they go hand in hand. And the government, first and foremost, has this responsibility to make sure that things like this stop. We have to stop, enabling and given an environment whereby, violence or extremism breeds, and then one day it becomes a problem in the society. So the government and all the other relevant stakeholders, parents, parents are responsible for their children. They have to know the kind of friends that they keep. They have to understand, that this thing is bad. You should not discriminate against your friends or people that are not from the same religion or tribe or whatever. Parents have to do that. Then the traditional rulers also have this responsibility to tell their subjects. Religious leaders have this responsibility to enlighten their subjects. I think once we do that, inshallah, everything is going to be fine and dandy.
All right. Okay, thank you so much for that, Mr. Salim. Sir, it was very insightful having this conversation with you. There is a saying that says there is peace even in storm. So this actually brings us to the end of this podcast today, and it was very insightful and very engaging and educative at the moment. And I know the only way to live, a good life is, having a very peaceful life. Thank you so much, and thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for having me.
For coming. We'd love to have you sometimes and have this discussion further.
Definitely.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for your time, and we call it a day today.